I'm Patti Davis. I started a support group for caregivers of people with dementia years ago. I ran it for 6 years. I structured it with a co-facilitator from the medical field. Let me start first with the diagnosis. Usually it's not a surprise. Usually someone has been showing symptoms, and so you take them to the doctor. I would suggest taking them to a neurologist, not your general practitioner, because you need to know what kind of dementia it is. If in fact it's dementia, some things can mimic dementia and aren't. B12 deficiency, thyroid deficiency can actually have dementia symptoms, and it's not. So you do need a complete workup. But if it is dementia, a neurologist needs to diagnose that. Sometimes it is a surprise. Sometimes if someone has surgery and goes under anesthesia, dementia that's been lurking in the brain and hasn't really manifested yet can suddenly manifest. The same is true with a head injury. The same is true with a stroke. But usually you have some preparation, or you think you do. When the diagnosis is made, generally you feel unprepared because a whole world has just changed. One of the things that's going to come up is the question about new medications that are designed to slow down the progression of dementia, particularly Alzheimer's. It is not my place to tell anybody what to do or what decision to make in terms of those medications, but I do want to point out that I think there's a really important question to ask in this, which is that the earlier stages of dementia are the hardest ones. The person is cognizant of the fact that they are losing cognition. So I think you want to ask yourself if you want to slow things down so that they linger in that stage. And it's an individual choice, but I think that's an important question to ask. The other thing that you need to know is after a diagnosis is made, the doctor is legally required to notify the DMV that this particular patient now has dementia. I'm going to talk more later about driving. That's a whole other topic. But you do need to know that they are required to do that. Also, sometimes doctors don't tell the patient. They leave that to the family members. I think it's better if a doctor informs the patient, because if someone's going to get blamed for giving the person bad news, you would rather have it be the doctor than the family members. Things can be really overwhelming after that diagnosis. You sort of think, I have to deal with everything at once. No, you don't. You don't have to deal with every single thing. There are a few things that you need to deal with right away. One of them is establishing, if you haven't already, who has medical power of attorney. That really needs to be done right away. Then you have to look at the home environment. Homes are dangerous places. There are gas appliances, there are electrical outlets, there's cutlery, there might be power tools, and there might be weapons. And that's a really important question to ask, even if you think you know the answer. If it's a parent who has been diagnosed with, say, Alzheimer's, and you think they would never have a gun in their house, ask anyway, because you don't always know everything about someone, even though you think you do. Maybe there was a burglary in the neighborhood and your parents thought, I'm going to get a gun, and they didn't tell anybody. If there is a weapon, you need to get it out of there, and you also need to get the ammunition out of there. You need to look at the house and the interior locks in the house. You don't want someone locking themselves in a bedroom. You don't want someone locking themselves in a bathroom. Please don't take the lock off of the front door. You need the exterior locks, but take out the interior ones. Subjects like I said, like driving, like caregiving, I'm going to talk about separately, because those are the big ones. But mainly making the house safe for them. If they're in the early stages, they might still be able to cook. They might still be able to function in the kitchen, but it's a good idea if they're not doing it by themselves. Ultimately, it's going to be sort of like child-proofing a house on steroids, because you're not dealing with a child, you're dealing with an adult. So they can get into cabinets, they can get into the garage and take the chainsaw and decide to open up a wall. I've heard of that too. So you definitely want to assess everything that can possibly be dangerous. That's the important things to do right out of the gate. You might want to talk to them about having someone come in, but like I said, I'm going to say more of that later, but it's an important thing to introduce the topic early. So plant the seeds. And also, I think you have to deal with the emotions that the person who has been diagnosed is feeling. If it's your parents and both of your parents are there, usually the parent who doesn't have dementia is going to want to care for the one who does. That might work okay for a while. It's not going to work okay indefinitely, but you need to respect that. This is their relationship and they're going to have to work this out. If your parent is alone, that's a good time to introduce the subject, plant the seeds of having someone else in the house, an outdoor caregiver, outside caregiver.